Hi Natasha, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great.
Thank
I'm
you
great.
for having
Great.
me.
Thank you for agreeing to this.
Of course.
So, when I was researching into this, I thought you were a painter. And then, when I looked at your profile, it said you're a fine artist. So I didn't realize, okay, maybe I really actually don't know this person. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay. My name is Natasha Kudita. I'm a visual artist from Zimbabwe. I recently graduated from the University of Pretoria with a fine art degree. And I'm also a business owner. My business is called Fine Art by Tash. And I'm a highly motivated individual with a passion for all things creative.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. We're going to talk about what fine art is, because for us, like basic regular people, might not really follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can start with the general description. Like the arts covers a lot of things like drama and music and visual art. So visual art is the one that falls more under fine art. And fine art comes from the old masters, like Anana, Picasso and Rembrandt. Those were the fine art masters. So that's why they call it fine art, because it's very specific. And that's when you get the disciplines that come under fine art, which are like painting and photography and drawing. So yeah,
that's interesting. That's interesting. So that's fine art, right? But I'd like to know, like, what art is to you, like, personally. Yeah.
Okay, so art for me is two things. Art is experience and art is education. By that I mean in my art I like to create an experience for the viewer, like inventing a space or a world where they can think and feel in a way that they usually wouldn't. And then the second part is that art is educational, and art doesn't discriminate based on race or socioeconomic standing. It levels the playing field, and in that way art is accessible and it teaches people about visual communication. So experience and education, that's what art is for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's really not what I expected. I didn't know what to expect, but yeah, that's definitely interesting.
Some people go like the route, like art is like soulful, like art is creative expression, but it can be different things to different people.
Yeah, clearly. And when did you realize that you wanted to be an artist? Because like you said, we're in Zimbabwe, right? And that's not a common career choice, I would say. So when did you realize you wanted to be an artist?
My realization came quite late, because I had always enjoyed art and history and creative things in high school. I kind of just like sprinkled in geography in A-level for control, Yeah. So I think my realization actually came in my fourth year of studying fine art at uni, because when I put it all into perspective, I realized, I'm studying towards a qualification, and now that I can actually proudly say that I'm a professional artist.
So fourth year in
yes.
Uni. Yo, that's deep.
Yeah.
That was deep into the journey.
Yeah, throughout uni I was kind of like, I really enjoy this, but what am I going to do?
How am I going to survive?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So how did you get to pick art? So the reason I asked this is because when you get to pick a career, it's not just you, right? It's your parents also involved, family is also involved. So was your family supportive of you, despite the fact that you weren't sure what all this would lead to?
I think most of my family wanted me to study something like architecture or law, because it's more set in stone, like you graduate and you get the job and you go into the field. But I was lucky to have a sister who had also studied the same thing, so she had already created the path for me to follow, so it wasn't an issue.
It was a safe space.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Of which some people are not as lucky to have people that allow people to be, creative.
They have to be the ones who knock those doors down, I suppose.
But I think in the 21st century, we're now moving into more unconventional jobs.
Hopefully, man. I pray it manifests.
Like content creation, like you just wake up and you're like, I'm a content creator.
Yeah. But I think it's always tough because, like you said, it's not the path is not always clear. Like how you survive doing the thing that you want to do versus the law or the architecture that you mentioned, which you have, I guess, many more examples, right?
Yeah.
So you go to uni, you're studying fine arts. What did you enjoy most about that experience, that 4 years in uni?
I think it was an enjoyable experience because there was always something new to learn, and I'm like a lifelong learner. That's what I like to call myself. So for example, the UP Fine Arts program offered so many things like photography, painting, drawing, sculpture, woodwork, steelwork, design. There was just an array of things, and there was also this compulsory class that I sometimes used to skip, but it was for Adobe training programs, and those are skills that I'm really grateful for because they're something I still use in my work today. So I think I came out of university as a well-rounded individual, and that was a great experience.
Yeah, I hear that. So the Adobe, is that like illustration skills or?
Adobe has a lot of programs like Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, Premiere Pro. It's that whole Adobe package.
Also the whole.
Yes. So they taught us all of that, and
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's basically, there's something you said in, I don't remember if it was an interview or an Instagram live, but you were talking about the race dynamics, because like you said, at this point you were in Pretoria, and you were the only black girl in your class, if I'm not mistaken. Did that affect your learning in any way?
Okay, so from first year to third year, there were other people of color in the class, but they branched out and changed degrees. So it was only in my fourth year that I was the only black student. And I thought going into fourth year that I'd be uncomfortable in the environment, but it was actually a great learning environment because my classmates were welcoming and we had already developed that level of respect for each other throughout the year. So it just became about studying towards our degree and not really about race. I think the difference was when the perspective that I brought to the class.
Okay, maybe explain that.
Yeah, in terms of my subject matter, because I was the only one talking about notions of black identity and talking about my mixed race lineage, for example. So that's where it was different for me because no one else could really relate to what I was saying, but it was still valuable to bring that perspective because I was the only black student and I was the only international student on top of that. So it sort of kind of felt like a duty, like I have to talk about this. People need to know about this.
Yeah, I hear that. That's interesting too. So we talked about fine arts, right? And you explained like all the branches and whatnot. What's your specialty when people get to talk about your work? What do you associate yourself with?
So in my fourth year, I majored in photography, but my first love was always painting. And painting and illustration. So my fine art business is mostly painting and illustration. That's my area of specialty.
Okay, that's interesting. That's cool. What kind of art do you make? Is it like possible to describe I don't know if we can call it the style or subject matter. I'm not like an art person, so so I'm trying to sound sophisticated.
So a general description of my art is contemporary African art, and the style that I use is abstract art. And the thing I like about abstract art is that you can't really determine what it is. I like to allow the viewer to interpret my work for themselves before I tell them what it actually is.
Oh, so if I were to like buy a work of yours, you wouldn't tell me what's going on. I would have to like hang it on my wall and then figure it out.
I'd want you to first tell me what you see, then I'll tell you the vision that I had when I was creating it. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of that stuff is really abstract. It's like, okay, what's going on here? Some of it, I think sometimes the titles can like lead you in a certain way, and you start to see things in a certain way. But yeah, it really is abstract.
Yeah.
Like you say, and the thing that interests me is, I mean, among other things, of course, is the process itself. And I know this is like it's a vague question because there's so many. I would assume there's so many like pieces to the process, but what's your process like as an artist? Like, do you see something and then you draw, or?
So most of my inspiration and my source images come from my environment, like photographing day-to-day activities in the CBD, or depicting something as simple as Shona cultural values. So that's where my inspiration comes from. And then from that, most of my work start as digital illustrations. And depending on what the customer wants, I'll either print it out or I'll create it as a physical painting. We were talking about the fact that I turn my illustrations into physical painting.
What do you like more, print or the painting?
I enjoy the process of painting because it's very like therapeutic and I'm in my zone. But in terms of aesthetic, I prefer the print. It's more precise, it's more clean.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I hear that. It makes sense. I think you said that before. I think I saw that on your Instagram or something like that.
Yeah, that's why I said it depends on what field the customer is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned that depending on the customer, what the customer wants. So can someone come to you before you start a work and be like, I want this, and then you do that, or that's not something you do?
So I sell my own work, and besides selling my own work, I also do commissions. If someone wants me to draw or paint something, I can do that for them. Except landscape, I don't do landscapes.
What does that mean? I have no idea what that means.
Like mountains and the ocean and hills and the sea.
Is that difficult?
It's a skill that you have to learn, and I didn't learn it.
Okay. Yeah. Is that the class you were skipping?
No. Yeah.
So you talked about Shona culture influencing you. You talked about just the regular things you see in the CBD influencing you. Do you have other influences, maybe in terms of artists, or maybe just other influences in general that you didn't mention before?
Okay, so my sister is also an artist. Her name is Ms Kudita. Yeah. She's an award-winning photographer and she's based in Zim. She's my biggest inspiration because it's nice to have someone who does art who's close to home. So she helps me with creative advice. She guides me in terms of my conceptual ideas as well. So yeah, I think she's my biggest inspiration.
Yeah. So on your Instagram, right? It looks like you've been doing fine art for a while now, right? I think as far back as 2019 is what I remember on your page. If not 2018. I don't know. You know. In your personal journey so far, do you feel like being an artist has helped you?
Yes, it has. So firstly, I think creativity takes a lot of courage. So art has definitely contributed to my personal characteristics like self-confidence and patience and resilience. And I think studying fine art also broadened my view of what art is. Because transitioning from high school where they told you what to paint and how to paint it versus university, I think it definitely expanded my intellectual capacity because studying fine art requires critical thinking skills and it requires application. So yeah, it definitely helped me grow as a person.
That's cool. That's an artist answer.
Thanks, I guess.
You're an artist, right? And also a businesswoman, essentially. You're selling your art, you're doing commissions like you said, you make your own original work. how, I don't know how best to word this, right? But how have you figured out in terms of marketing and the business side? Because from what I've heard, and I don't think I'm an artist. I don't think of myself as an artist.
Okay.
But you tend to hear that it's hard to monetize art, especially in maybe a low-income country like Zim and stuff like that. How has that experience been for you?
Okay.
In terms of like the monetization and the business side? Because I would assume you're an artist first, and artist and business, it's a tricky combination.
Okay, so going back to what I said, I was studying towards qualification. So we did have a module that was specifically for professional fine art practice. So they did have those courses where they teach you entrepreneurship and how to set up an exhibition and how to price your work and how to position yourself in the art industry and how to network. So that background from uni has definitely helped me because I didn't have a background in marketing or business. It's sort of been a learn as you go for me. But I'm doing well, I would say.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And what have been like some of the challenges you've faced so far in that journey?
Building a brand was definitely a challenge for me. Why was it a challenge? Because like I said, I didn't have a marketing background. But I spend a lot of time on social media, especially Instagram and Facebook, and there are pages that actually help you with how to grow your business. So I work according to content pillars, and these are educational, inspirational, promotional, and entertaining. So all of my content falls under those topics, and I think that's what has helped me to build a brand that's versatile because I cater to different things that all fall under fine art.
That's interesting. Because a lot of times, the number of times when I do talk to artists, that's always like a pain point of theirs to say, you don't want to be the artist, the manager, but because of the place we're in, you end up being all of those things.
I think us as Zimbabweans, we have a hustling spirit, and that's something that I have that keeps me driven.
How do you manage to then balance work and life? Like, when does it stop? Because I know personally that kind of kicks my ass like a lot.
Okay.
Finding that balance. How do you get to find that balance?
I think art is ingrained in my life, so it isn't hard to find a balance. Like every time I'm out, even if it's just for like lunch with the girls, I'm talking about my business, I'm talking about art, and they're responding to me. So it isn't really hard for me to find a balance. And being an entrepreneur, you kind of have your own working hours. It's just that you have to be disciplined with yourself.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you something, and it's perfectly it's perfectly fine. I could have been asking you stuff all along, right?
Yeah.
But it's perfectly fine. Like if you don't have the answer to this, right? Okay. I would understand because it's kind of a random question. But like, how much time does it take you to make like one art piece or to finish one project from like start to finish?
Yeah. So I think all artists work differently.
Yeah.
If it's my own personal work, it can take anywhere from a day to 3 months because I'm never in a rush to create something new. I'm always more focused on creating and putting out something that I'm proud of. However, if it's an order from Fine Art by Tash, I give a production time of 1 week for prints and 3 weeks for painting.
Because I thought you wouldn't have an answer for that because like precisely like what you said. You want to make something. But you also don't want to pressure yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the art and business conflict.
It's like you don't want to take forever with every single piece of work you make, but you also. What was it like being an artist during lockdown? Was it any different from the way you had worked before? Because I know at that time you were in uni, but you already had your business.
Yeah.
So both aspects, I suppose, the uni aspect and just being an artist in general. Like, what was that like during the pandemic?
So as you know, during the pandemic, there was nowhere to go and nothing to do.
Yeah.
Everyone was indoors. So I took advantage of that, and that's when I actually launched my business, because people were sitting at home looking at their blank walls. So why not bless them with some fine art, you know? Yeah. And in terms of my schooling, I did my entire third year here in Zim online. So that was tough, but I made it.
Thankfully. Yes. Have you ever experienced art block? So I don't know if art block is the term. I was a writer before. I know of writer's block, but you know, just the process where you can't put pen to paper, or I guess brush to canvas.
I see you, the bars. So I experience art block all the time.
Yeah.
So what I do to resolve that is I look at what other artists are doing, artists who do work that's similar to mine. I also look back at my inventory folder at unfinished work or unfinished sketches and ideas that can be revamped. And it's also just about talking to people around you about your ideas, because they could trigger something.
Yeah.
And it's also about self-encouragement, if I can, is that a word?
It is
like
now.
Encouraging yourself to get up and do something, because you can really dig yourself into a deep dark hole if you don't believe in yourself and your work. So yeah.
Let's talk about something a bit interesting, a bit controversial, a bit. People are kind of split about this, but this is something I've seen you embrace, is the word I would use. NFTs. You've been involving yourself in the NFT space, right? Why have you chosen to try that out? What's the motivation for that?
Okay, so I got into the NFT space through a company called Bitnifty, and they're like an onboarding platform that helps artists to, for example, buy crypto or get recognized in the NFT space. And NFTs had been growing and people had been talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, I'm an artist, why do I not try this for myself? So I saw it as another avenue for me to get my work out there on an international scale. So I'm grateful to have been part of a recent NFT exhibition that happened in California.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about an international market and getting more eyes on your work.
Yeah. I've noticed you're like super proactive, but we're going to come back to that.
I have more to add on that actually.
On NFTs?
Yeah. I felt comfortable getting into the space because there was already a community that was supporting me. It's more like in Africa, the African NFT community and the Black community in the NFT space. So there's already that supportive foundation for you to launch yourself and ask questions, ask for advice, and
So there's that debate that goes on in that community where some people are like, there's no value to this because tokens and all. I'm not like super knowledgeable about the space, but I'm just gonna ask you on your opinion, because there's some people who discredit the entire thing on the basis of I don't have the physical thing in my hand, the painting is in my room and whatnot. And then there are people who have embraced it, who it's pros and cons basically, right? What's your take on that? What would you rather have in terms of your work? Would you rather have the digital versions out, or the NFTs, or the NFTs are the digital, or would you rather have your painting in my space, or it's neither here nor there for you? What's your feeling?
Okay, so I might answer this in bits and bobs, but NFTs actually can be displayed in your home. I think you just have to, because they're displayed in screens that just to stay on, you just plug them into the wall and the artwork is up permanently. So it isn't necessarily about it being displayed. I would say NFTs are more about crypto clout. It's about the collector knowing that they own an original artwork of mine. That's what they call one of ones. So I'd say NFT art is more about ownership and authenticity first. And I'd say, I have to think about this.
Please do.
It is definitely valuable for artists who do more digital art than physical art, because it is about the effects of globalization and technology on the art world. So you do have to be a versatile artist and keep up with the trends that are happening.
Fair enough, I hear that.
But it is, you have to be very cautious about the space and do your research before you just jump in, because there are a lot of scams out there.
Yeah, I've heard. People
are getting robbed out here.
Or people getting mocked for. There's a lot of like mockery pertaining to the monkeys and whatnot. Yeah. So the last thing I'll ask you in regards to NFTs, right, is and it's a monkey question again.
Okay.
So from the outside looking in, why does it look like, and I don't know, you might not even have the answer to this, but why does it look like the people with these generic low effort projects where it's like maybe 3,000 monkeys or weird looking lions, I don't know the names of these things, right? They seem to be, I don't want to say more successful because I don't know for a fact if that's the case, right? But they seem to get more attention than artists, like real artists, because the thing with those is they're almost like computer generated, if I'm not mistaken. Whereas they're like real artists who sit down, illustrate and whatnot, and they seem to have a smaller slice of the pie in terms of hype and revenue. Why do you think that's the case?
I think that is the problem with the NFT space, because as I said, it's about clout. So sometimes artists who put in the work don't get as much recognition as they should. For example, the monkeys that you're talking about, it's called the Bored Ape Yacht Club.
That's it.
And it's so popular because the monkey can be personalized, like with different colors and accessories. And it's even more popular because celebrities like Post Malone, DJ Khaled, Snoop Dogg, they've been buying into that Bored Ape Yacht thing. So as people buy into them, the value of the pictures of the monkeys actually increase, and that's how people are making money off of something so silly, you know.
It's interesting, man. It's like you said, it's about, I guess, educating yourself and keeping up with the time.
But also with that NFT thing, there are a lot of different marketplaces for different kind of art, so it's just about going into the right one and selling your art on the right platform.
And finding people who would appreciate fine
your
art
community
by Tash instead of fair enough, I hear that makes sense. So there's something you said, and I don't know if you remember this, I coded it as if it's verbatim. But I think you said as a creative, contributing to someone's life in a permanent sense is my ultimate contribution to society. So I found that very intriguing, in that I did not understand it, right?
Really?
Yeah. Can you please explain this to me a bit? Contributing to someone's life in a permanent sense is my ultimate contribution to society.
So I think as artists, we all want to make our mark on the world and be remembered. For example, Van Gogh only got famous when he died. He was a broke artist his entire life. And what I meant by that, that's actually quite sad.
Yeah, a lot of those.
Like he was broke his whole life. He only got rich when he was dead, and that's very unfortunate. So
which was actually not him getting rich, but it's quite messed up.
But I meant to. Well, we shouldn't be laughing. Okay. What I meant by that was that I want to be remembered for the personal connections and relationships that I've formed with my audience. Whether it's through giving them creative advice or whether it's through selling them an original work that they can keep forever and pass on to their children. So that's my ultimate contribution to society, because we don't live forever, but my art will live forever.
Yeah, I understand it now.
Yeah.
And then from the art you've made thus far, I suppose they're all your babies, and this is like a parent being asked, like, who's your favorite child? And then they're like, no, I don't have one, but they probably do. But do you have like a favorite art?
Okay, so all of my art pieces are my favorite. So I'd say my favorite at the moment is my most recent work. It's called Mangwana, and it depicts the common image of the African mother carrying her child on her back as an act of warmth and as an act of comfort. And with that piece, I wanted it to resonate with people as the strength of the mother is the strength of her child and vice versa. So that's my favorite artwork. Some people don't see the mother and child, so that goes back to what I said about abstract art. Like someone told me they saw a man standing in front of a mirror seeing a shadow of his past self, and I didn't see that at all. So that's the amazing thing about abstract art.
That's cool. I did see the mother. I think it was the first time I saw a painting of yours, and I was like, okay, that's a mother.
You see it,
Before I even like read the title, I don't remember which I read first, but I saw it.
I'm glad you saw it.
And then I read another artist say making art is not a pleasant feeling. Essentially what they were saying is
are they okay?
I hope so. At the time they had the interview, I think they were. I've forgotten her name. If I find it, I'll share a link to the interview with you. But essentially what she was saying is her experience of making art is she suffers through it, right? She suffers through the art until there's something on the canvas, right? I hope that person is fine. But but is it the same for? Well, I assume it's not the same for you because of the way you reacted, right? But during your process, are there any feelings you get that you can like think of right now that you can describe?
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel peace, and I feel joy, and I feel mostly excitement for when I put it out for the world to see. And the thing about that artist is, you can, as I said, art is also a form of self-expression, and art is therapeutic. So maybe those are the feelings that she's letting out onto the canvas as she's painting. So it's not necessarily an unpleasant feeling, it's just arousing unpleasant feelings.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I hear that. I hear that, I think making content for myself it's a tricky feeling. Like that excitement you mentioned. I get that.
Just like fulfillment.
Yes. I think that's the term. That's probably the term. But on the inverse, there are bits of the process that don't bring you joy. But you have to like slave through them because they're part of the process. Do you have anything like that for yourself where you're like, man, if I couldn't do this, or if I could get someone else to do this, I would.
No, I understand that it's all part of the process. What can I say about that?
Perfectly fine if you don't have anything.
There are days when you just don't feel like getting up and painting, but you've already told your customer, look, this will be done in 3 weeks, and you will have your product, and you can put up your product. So it's about that self-discipline that I was talking about, and slaving through it, and you will feel fulfilled at the end of that journey.
That's true. That's true. So thanks, Natasha. It was interesting catching up with you.
Thank you for having me.
First, I think this is the first, not first artist, but first fine artist. Definitely first fine artist, and this was eye opening.
Thank you.
I hope it. I know it will help a number of people.
Thank you.
Great.
Bounce. my dogs in this bitch now, yeah.
If it's war, that the one whole squad lined up. Say my shit wrong, screaming Thompson or warrior. Get my clip right, get my clip right, entire clip right. Like I ain't talking J shit, I ain't talking yay shit. Monster on the H-Town roster, I ain't tryna test ya. Who's tryna wet ya? Zim warrior to the end. Probably had the feeling from the first meeting. These brothers kill shit, these brothers bout it. Black and white fuck shit up on the daily. These niggas kill shit, these niggas bout it. H-Town warriors breaking down barriers. Victoria, Gloria, whoever coming down, getting dicked down. If we talking sterling, put that line up. Check, it goes.
If we talking sterling, better check the pep in my step. The pep in my step, bro. If we talking sterling, if you talking sterling, better check the pep in my step, bro. Niggas talk shit to the biscuit and let go. No one's gonna hold me back.
Yeah, you don't have to ask twice, here it is. Yeah, it's live and direct and we killing it. How you gonna talk about a meal with me when you haven't even healed till you better deal with it? Damn, I've been smoking J's all day, G's. These niggas DJs play you then they envy. From a distance, wicked, but I'm too fresh. All this drip, I'll be damned if a nigga would test me. Someone tell the bartender that's all for the night. Told the brown-eyed fox I won't see it tomorrow. I gotta catch this flight. Like yeah, I do what I like. This nigga here's caught up in euphoria. Why? Cause I've been victorious and elevated. So shawty, hold the gifts. Know that you're independent, but I got you on this. But
if we talking sterling, better check the pep in my step. The pep in my step, bro. If we talking sterling, if you talking sterling, better check the pep in my step, bro. Niggas talk shit to the fist, get and let go. No one's gonna hold me back. Warrior.